just generally giving women more respect. If that's what you want to call feminism, I'm all for it. If you want to try and redefine what a woman is, or say, oh, well, freedom of expression at the expense of somebody else, that actually deprecates women. It insults them.
Welcome back to the channel, it's Sebastian. And in this video, Nate and I went down to Southern Utah University. We were asking a ton of people questions, but this guy, before we started, he prefaced that he doesn't hold back with his opinions. So, of course, we welcomed it. And it was quite the interview. We talked about feminism, transgender people, we talked about a whole lot of things. And you're about to see everything that we just interviewed and heard. But before we go into it, subscribe, turn on your notifications, and now let's get into it.
The first question is, are you more pro-life or pro-choice?
Pro-life.
Okay, you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, for me it's kind of weird because you could also say I am pro-choice, but the reason I say that is because for me it's a matter of the choice of everyone involved, mother and child and father. Every choice we make affects everybody around us, whether it's with this issue or any other issue, right? So it's like, for me, it's a matter of whose choice are we talking about, right? And so, I think it's important to think about everybody's choice here, not just one person's choice, but everyone's.
Okay, when you say everybody, who do you mean? In regards to abortion, what do you mean by everybody's choice?
Father, mother, and child. The whole family is involved, right? I mean, sometimes, yeah, I get there's cases where, far too frequently, where you have stuff like rape and incest, things like that. And that's a bad choice, obviously. But for me, it's a matter of, are we going to allow other people's choices to affect ours negatively or positively? Are we going to make the best choice based on others' bad choices? Are we going to allow our pain to turn us into someone bitter or someone better, right? And I think that's what the principle we should be basing the choice on. And so I think for me, that area of, thinking about choice leads more towards choosing life for everybody. So.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you. And then another question, would you consider yourself a feminist?
Honestly, I kind of think that word has been misrepresented a lot. I think feminism, as painted in a lot of the media today, does a disservice to women, the way it's described. I am absolutely, my wife is one of the best people you're ever going to meet, okay. As was my late wife before she passed. And so when it comes to just women's rights in general, you won't find much of a bigger proponent for that than me. So I think the whole feminism idea has just been misrepresented in the world today, and in the respect of, just generally giving women more respect. If that's what you want to call feminism, I'm all for it. If you want to try and redefine what a woman is, or say, oh, well, freedom of expression at the expense of somebody else, that actually deprecates women. It insults them. And so in regards to that, for me, feminism should be, if you're going to use that word, I think it should be about just making sure that we are considering the whole general gamut of women's rights and making sure that, we're not trying to confuse, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? We want to make sure that we don't denigrate women by trying to redefine what a woman is, or insulting the things that women are just best at. For example, women can bear children. I am never in a million years going to be able to do that. And that is just such an extremely awesome, oh my gosh, women, you should be proud of this. Men, that's one thing men will never, ever, ever be able to do. So own it, man. The things that make women women, those things should be celebrated, not, insulted or deprecated or try to change or redefine it. Those beautiful parts of women is what I think feminism should be about. So.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Do you think that transgenderism is something that is valid or that should be accepted?
As far as I understand with that, and I'm not a psychologist or anything, so I'm not an expert on that per se, but opinion-wise, the whole gender dysphoria thing, I would never ever tell anyone who says, oh, I was born a man, but I feel like a woman. I'm not in your brain. I'm not going to pretend like I am and say, oh, well, but you're never going to be, so forget about it. Okay, well, I can't pretend to know what that's like. I've never had that happen in my head or in my heart. I don't know what those feelings are like. And so I can't pretend to sit here and, you know, oh, well, you're wrong in this, you're wrong in that. That's out of my professional zone. What I do know is, it kind of relates back to what I said earlier about, you know, the feminism thing is, I'm going to leave it to the professionals to deal with how, you know, the psychological process of just processing that, okay, what does this struggle mean for this person or that person? Because everyone's different, right? I personally think that, like, I'm a Christian, right? I believe that God created two genders. But if somebody feels like there's something else, my best suggestion is what most of the experts say out there, as far as I understand it. Just seek for professional help, and best of luck to those who struggle with that problem. I feel for you. I would pray for you and hope you figure things out. That's something that's beyond what I can understand, but I do know that, you know, I think God designed humanity to be one way, and if somebody feels like they're the other way, that's all I can do. Really, just pray for them and be like, you know what? I hope you figure it out. That's all I would know to say. So.
Okay. So follow-up question to that would be, you know, if you know, going with the belief that God designed humanity and created us and created two genders, what do you think it is then that causes those designs to feel differently? Like, say, if God created two genders, then why do people feel like there's, you know, more than that?
Yeah.
Would you say that that's like a flaw in the design, or like what would you say?
I think that's just, like, you guys familiar? I don't know if you're familiar with the whole nurture versus nature debate of the 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that plays a lot into it. Like, I think human nature was something that God designed as one way, and I think that a lot of the way, I mean, the world's a mess. I know everybody can agree on that right now. The world's a mess all over the place. Mm-hmm. And so I think that when it comes to why does it happen, that's something that I think is going to be a matter of one day God saying, like, okay, by the way, about this whole issue, you know, let me clarify about this, right? For now, as for the origins of it, I'm going to leave that up to God to decide when and where that needs to be, you know, like this is the facts kind of thing, right? My job is to love in the meantime, and be like, and just, if somebody were to ask me, like, if say like, I don't know if you're transgender or not, but if you were to say you were, and you asked me, hey, do you think that this is all in my head and that I'm just freaking, like, you know, I'm just crazy or something? My response would be, I don't know, man. I'm not a professional. I'm not in your head. I would go see a professional about that. And if you want to know where that came from, why you happen to be this way, I mean, that's not something I can really answer. That's up to God to tell you, not me. He's in charge of everything, so that's the best I got.
So, very last follow-up question.
Yeah.
What do you think that God would say to someone who is transgender, or non-binary, or who identifies outside of, like, the binary of genders?
God be with you. You know, I wish you the best and hope you figure things out. And in the meantime, while you do that, I'm here to support you the best I can according to what I know. What I know is true. You know, a lot of the Christian beliefs today I know don't exactly fit well. I understand that, with a lot of the beliefs of what happens with transgenderism and where it comes from, all that stuff.
Mm. But, like, I guess kind of like putting all of, like...
Sorry.
No, you're good. But, like, putting Christianity aside and just kind of, like, thinking about, like, God in his purest, in their purest form, what do you think that they would say to someone?
Like, what God would say to them?
Yeah, what would God say in that situation?
First, he would say, I love you. I think he would say, regardless of what your strengths or weaknesses or character strengths or flaws, whatever they are may be, I think the first thing he would say is, I love you. And then the next thing would probably be, will you let me help you through this? I can help you figure it out. That's what I think.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah.